Hello and welcome to my module 2 reflection. This module I spent a lot of time, I made sure that I watched all the videos, read a ton of articles, just kind of looked into everything. This course is extremely intriguing to me, number one, because I have taken some of the more advanced autism courses previously. So having kind of a baseline idea and look into some specific things in autism, kind of stepping back and looking back, to square one on just being introduced to autism in general is super exciting to me, and I'm really enjoying it and learning a lot to build onto what I've already learned. So I'm going to go ahead and dive in into the reflection. So for the first bullet, selecting 5 interventions for module 1 and discussing the following. The first intervention that I want to talk about is incident-based interventions. The reason why I want to talk about this first is it's something that I have actually kind of put into play already. I am actually teaching summer school this year, and I am teaching, I'm usually in the middle school classroom setting, and I was bumped down to kindergarten. So much fun. So I have 3 students actually in my kindergarten class this summer who have autism. Previously diagnosed and everything. They are amazing little kiddos, and I have kind of put into practice incident-based intervention with one of my little kiddos, and I think it is helping tremendously. Day 1, he had a lot of stress, a lot of outbursts, and a lot of anxiety. I can just see in him just being at school, following a structured kind of daily plan, interacting with all the other students. So kind of providing a cool down area for him to decrease some of that stress, and letting him know, if I see it or if he feels like he's stressed or overwhelmed, kind of letting him go to that cool down area I'll set a timer, let him cool down, and then he can come back to the whole group or go back to his activity. It's primarily of a using it as kind of a heads up or kind of what's coming next activity, like you're going to go to cool down area and then next you're going to do this. So historically it's helped with stress and letting them know, when things are going to happen, especially with those students who don't do well with change and transition. And I've seen a huge difference just in the last 2 weeks that I've seen him kind of implementing this incident-based interventions with him. Another intervention that I looked up was incidental teaching, which is use of opportunities in a student's life to teach, such as, if he does something that he's not supposed to, saying, okay, we're going to learn from what we just did, creating an interactive setting, using prompts and providing desired outcomes. So making sure, if you do this, you can go to your cool down area. If you do this, you're going to get something in return. So incidental teaching is something that I've seen a lot of people use, and I'm hoping to put that into practice. I'm not familiar with using it. Maybe I am without knowing, but no. I plan to use that in my middle school classroom once I do go back to school. Another one that I did a little bit of research on, but didn't find too much, is discrimination training. Another one is applied behavioral analysis and using social stories. I use social stories a ton. You can help in just using a social story so that they can visually and auditorily hear what you want them to do is a tremendous help. Social stories have been historically used with a ton in the classroom, and I see the benefit of it every single day. Some other strategies are things like self-management, peer modeling, video modeling, schedules using visuals like a first then thing. And then a huge one is applied behavioral analysis. This is one that I use a ton whenever I'm one-on-one historically it has been talked about the most, and it was talked about the most in the different things that I looked up. There was an increased use of ABA in autistic children from the 70s to the 80s, and they use it a ton. Interventions that I'm familiar with, like I said, I've been using incident-based interventions, incidental teaching, I use social stories a lot, visuals, and peer modeling. I actually use peer modeling in my classroom today with my kindergartners, and it seemed to be a huge help. So I think that by comparing and contrasting these different interventions, ultimately it's really hard to compare them because it really depends on the student, what the student's needs are. I think it's super important to look at that student, their strengths, their weaknesses, their needs, their wants, their behaviors, their actions, to be able to look into and pick a few of these different interventions and see what's best for them. I am a true believer on every single student is different. They all need very individualized interventions, and I think before you can compare and contrast these, you really need to look at the student to compare and contrast and decide what is best. I do know that among all of the interventions that I looked up, ABA, Applied Behavioral Analysis, is the most used. I think it's the most universal that I looked up and I was researching. It's just a really good and effective intervention for students with autism. I've learned a lot already so far from the module. Like I said, I've already started using these. I usually work with students in the middle school age, and I'm super excited that I got to change gears and go to elementary and these little guys and really trial and error with them, because they haven't had as much intervention as mine have at the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade level. So being able to observe, look into their behaviors and see what works best has really been exciting to me, and I'm super excited to continue that. I'm really enjoying the IRIS modules that we've been doing. They give so much information. I really like hearing from professionals in the field, with watching the videos, listening to their input, and also reading the different articles. I'm super excited to continue this, and I'm really enjoying the course and just kind of learning the baseline and getting, while I'm learning about the introductions to autism, and then seeing autistic children in the kindergarten setting where they've never been in school before. I'm getting to put these together, and it's been a really exciting experience, so I look forward to learning more.